What's up, everybody? I want to thank you for all the support that you've shown me, whether you've been with me from January of 2018 or November of 2020. Any comment, view, subscription, like, whatever that you have given me, I do appreciate it, and it means a lot when you put my content at the forefront of your attention. So, as a thank you, I do want to share a story of how I got my first listing and how I got my first sale. And assuming that you are following me because of real estate content, I do hope you get some educational value out of this. So, as you know, I started my business at 18, fresh out of high school, 3 months out of high school, and I had no skills, no connections, almost no money in the bank account, and I had to hit the ground running. Um, my expectations of this business and my perception of the business were spot on. It was going to be a cutthroat, eat what you kill, hunt for everything that you want to put on the table, and a very nitty-gritty business as I thought of it. And my perception the first day that I had about real estate was that I needed to earn everything that I wanted to put in my pocket. So that included a whole bunch of sweat equity because I had no money to invest and leverage for marketing. Everything had to be earned through prospecting efforts, a proactive approach. So I took a very classic lead generation method, which was door knocking. If you don't know who Bryan Casella is, I recommend you take a look at his channel. I'll link it in the description below. But his content for new real estate agents is very helpful, and it got me running, got me on my feet running, and the proof was in the pudding. Within 2 weeks, I got my first listing door knocking. I chose a very specific area that had a lot of sales. Typically, areas that have a lot of sales have people, sellers specifically, looking at the prices of homes and are getting curious as to what their house might sell for. I got lucky. Rarely anybody gets a listing 2 weeks into the business, but that's just how it is for some people, and I was the exception, you could say. Now, the way I got it was door knocking, again, chose a specific area, and the script that I had was the Hot Market script from Kevin Ward, whose channel I could also link in the description below. Basically, the script is knock knock, the person opens the door, I say, hey, my name is agent with real estate company, just want to let you know that XYZ homes sold in the last 60 days. Usually when that happens, more homes sell in the following weeks. Just wondering, when do you think you might be ready to make a move? And turns out that the person who answered said that they tried to sell their home in the past as a for sale by owner. Now, that brings up a very important red flag for me. One is that they're a for sale by owner, so that they're a commission cutter, and they want to save money by not working with an agent. Typically, these people are not very sensible, because any person who values their time and their money will not sell their house themselves. They will hire someone to do it. The rates that they're willing to charge, that's dependent on them, but typically a for sale by owner is a very uneducated person. So I knew right away that I had to educate them, but being in the business for only 2 weeks, I wasn't very familiar with the things that I needed to do. So what I did, as soon as I got that person's contact information, got their phone number, email, obviously their address, I went back to the office. I asked someone in the office, hey, I have an appointment set for next Wednesday, which, the appointment I set right on the spot because I was following the script, and I practiced my scripts for 2 hours a day on a daily basis, even before I got my real estate license. So I was prepared on the script side, but on the technical aspect of it, I wasn't familiar, which is why I had to go to a mentor. So when I got that listing appointment scheduled with the seller, I went to another agent, asked him for help, and he eventually went to the listing appointment with me. Now, he handled the listing appointment. I just sat there and listened, and I wanted to see what that agent would do to get the contract signed. And of course, he would run through his own script that he's modified over the years because he's been in real estate for more than a decade. And he signed the listing contract, I signed the listing contract, we set it at a price, and we put it on the market. So it was a very simple process, and I definitely thought it was much more simpler than what was going to happen had I gone to the appointment by myself. But the lesson in there is, in order for you to earn your share of the pie, especially in the very beginning stages of your business, you have to prepare beforehand. While you're getting your license, or in the process of the state validating your license, it helps to practice your scripts, because when you go proactive in the prospecting approach, you have to know what you're going to say, and you have to say it with confidence. And I would say that the only reason why I was able to get that appointment was because I knew what I was going to say beforehand. So you have to practice your scripts. If you're not licensed and if you're not working and you know for certain that you're about to get into real estate and you have nothing to do, practice your scripts for 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day of just reading through the script, memorizing it, blindfolding yourself, and talking to your recorder and listening to your own recording. That really helped me in my progression of understanding the script, memorizing it, and handling objections. Story of that listing, it didn't sell. We overpriced it. Seller was, of course, very confrontational, as would be expected with a for sale by owner. But taking ownership of the situation, we just failed to lead and educate the for sale by owner that signed with us in a effective manner. So eventually the listing expired. Just couldn't get the job done because we failed to lead effectively. We failed to lead in an educational and effective manner. So we paid for that consequence with a failed and expired listing. Now, the second story, which is how I got my first sale, this was around 6 months into the business, and you guys who have watched my content from a while back probably know my video that I created for my first closing, which I'll link in one of the cards above. But it was from an open house that I closed. I met the buyer through an open house. It was probably in January of 2019 or 2018, and we happened to close escrow on the home, I think around April of 2018. You could check the video date for that. But essentially, what I had in place was a system when January 2018 hit. I followed the system, the follow-up system, where I would contact this person for X amount of times within a given period, and eventually that person ended up contacting me because I was diligent enough to stay in that headspace of that buyer. The important thing to know is that when you're contacting and following up with these buyers, even though that they don't pick up the phone, read your email, or respond to your text message, the important thing is that they see your name associated with that message. And that's because you want to occupy that headspace, because people probably have only two realtors at the top of their head, or the top of their mind, as soon as they think about a property that they want to see. And that was most likely the case with that one buyer. Because I was contacting him so much for a certain period of time, when it came time for him to really get a house within his motivational time frame, I was the first person that he wanted to talk to. And luckily, or not luckily, because I was doing the work associated with all these things, I was prepared to catch him right when he needed me, which was very important. I picked up the phone, I answered it, I set the appointment, and I moved straight away to the appointment. When that happened, I educated him on the process. I showed him a couple of homes. I wrote an offer that same day, and then we went into escrow during that weekend. And the lesson in that is to follow up consistently. You never know when someone's going to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to buy a house, I want to sell a house, I want you to lead me, which is basically what they're saying when they're calling you. The tables start shifting when, instead of you being the one to pursue the lead, they are the one pursuing you, because they have a motivation and a need that needs to get fulfilled, and they don't know how to move forward with it, which is why they go to you as the professional. So always have a system in place that makes sure that you don't forget to follow up with your leads. And when the time does come, as I mentioned in my first story, you have to be prepared with your scripts, with your presentation, and your process of leading the client, leading the person to a signed contract, an open escrow, and a closed escrow. So again, got my first listing 2 weeks into the business. That was a story in itself. Didn't close, didn't go through for its own specific reasons. 6 months later, got my first open house closing from a buyer lead, and that's how things started getting a lot more traction. And once that confidence was in place from both the scripts and from the actual closing, things started to get a little bit easier. But the thing is, the work doesn't stop. You have to be proactive in your approach. Prospecting will always be the foundation, the core of continuous business, especially within the first 3 years. So if you're a new agent, which I assume you are if you're watching this content, you have to practice your scripts. It's so important. And you have to lead generate and you have to follow up. Without that, you're not going to set any appointments. And if you do, it's going to be on luck, and the client's probably going to think you're a inexperienced agent, which mostly you are. But you give off that vibe of being inexperienced if you don't come off as professional and knowing what you are saying. So practice your scripts, follow up, have a process, a clearly defined process for your business, and all you really have to care about is prospecting and following up. So hope that video helps. Enjoy your Thanksgiving week and make sure that you keep working on yourself and your business. Hope this video helps.